This is Mr. Tan, and today we are going to be reviewing Porter's Diamond model, Porter's determinants of a nation's competitive advantage. And we're going to look at this model. We're going to move on and review the different elements of the model. We're going to try and relate the German car industry and market to Porter's Diamond model, and to give a balanced view, we're going to also review some of the disadvantages of this model. Look at Porter's Diamond model. This is really used by companies to analyze the external competitive environment. And this information can be used to explain, the relative strength of one business against another. And it also explains why industries are more advantageous than others. So if we look at Porter's model, it really aims to answer two questions. Why does one country or region become more competitive for a certain industry than others? And Porter refers to this as the home base. And as an example, Germany is the home base of car manufacturing. The second question is, why are companies from one country or region able to better sustain competitive advantage than others in that same industry? So in Porter's Diamond model, the answer to these questions are the determinants of competitive advantage. And what are these determinants? Well, as you can see, there are four determinants here. The determinants include the firm strategy, structure and rivalry, the demand conditions, related and supported industries, factors of production, but there are two more factors which are built into here, which is the policy of the government in that country or region, and also external conditions that may just come into it. So again, chance conditions. So these things are all interrelated, and these determinants, 6 in total, 4 seen, are not interdependent but dependent upon each other, and they all work together to give a business or industry a competitive advantage. First determinant are the factor conditions or factors of production, and these refer to the different types of resources which may or may not be present in a nation, and these include things like human resources, physical resources, knowledge-based capital investment, the infrastructure. And when Porter talks about these factor conditions, really he breaks down the factor conditions into two types. Basic factor conditions such as natural resources and unskilled labor, and advanced factor conditions such as skilled labor and specialized capital. And Porter argues that it's not really with the basic factor conditions but more with the advanced factor conditions which aid and gives a country a determinant of competitive advantage combined with the other elements, of course. An example can be seen with, MIT produces graduates with very high computing skills. This then aids in the fields of software and giving the US a competitive advantage in IT and software. In addition to that, you've also got in the US huge venture capitalists who want to invest their money into new technology and startups, and this again builds to the competitive advantage of the tech and IT industry. Next determinant is the demand conditions. And this is about the importance of home market demand conditions, composition of home market demand, the size and pattern of growth of the home market demand, means by which the home market demand pulls the products into foreign markets. And what we are talking about here is, how much does the demand within that country really put pressure on companies to innovate and to change? And the demand conditions from the end consumer will put a lot of pressure on companies to keep on changing and innovating. Also, if you've got early market saturation within an industry, then that again is going to lead to greater competition and greater demand for innovation and change. Determinant can be seen with related and supporting industries. When we look at this, we are saying, has an advantage when it is home internationally competitive industries that are related or indirect support. And when you have the presence of internationally competitive suppliers, this can be helpful to the company using these suppliers. It gives them cost-effective access to imports. It gives them, early access to new products and encourages sharing of information. Sometimes having related and supporting industries create brand new industries within themselves, industries which share resources. So this in itself leads to increased barriers into that country from other competition who are trying to gain access to your marketplace, because then they have to meet to the same standards, the same quality and technological advances, as well as the engineering advances that may exist within the car market in Germany, for example. Determinant is the firm's strategy, structure, and rivalry within that country or region. The competitiveness of a firm in one nation is determined by how firms, set their strategy and structure themselves. It is also determined by how much competition there is between firms in that region or country. How a firm is structured to set strategy will differ from nation to nation, and this will be determined by social factors, political factors, legal factors. But intense rivalry causes a move by companies to be more innovative and more creative, and also to review what the needs are of their target markets in order to best satisfy them. If we look at BMW, Mercedes, VW, highly competitive in the German marketplace, and this again, moves companies to be more innovative and creative in their developments and their marketing strategy. Of the determinant of a nation's competitive advantage really is the political side, which is outside of the company's control. When we look at the government, what is the government of that country doing in terms of the buyer of products and services, policymaker, or policies on labor, capital, information and product standards? Again, and how much does the government tax specific industries, and what kind of subsidies may they give to industries and help them to be more competitive? And all these can give a firm or industry or market sector within that country a competitive advantage, because it's supported indirectly by the government. And then if we look at the sixth factor is a chance occurrence outside, where we never know really what's going to happen outside in the world that could prevent things from happening. We've had so many different things at the moment that have occurred. If we look at COVID-19, how that has affected the service industry. If we look at Ukraine and the elements there between Russia, how that has affected the world. So chance occurrence, how that can affect industries and companies within those industries. If we take Porter's diamond model and we take the factor conditions as the first element in his determinant of national competitive advantage, then we can see here for the German market, well, German industry has traditionally put a strong emphasis on science and technology. Germany has the highest number of employed engineer workers and the second highest share of engineering workers amongst all employees in the EU. And even if we look at the specialized education establishment, the global center for graduates in car engineering, and this in itself is extremely difficult to, and it creates a barrier for other international car manufacturers who are trying to break in to the German car market. If we look at the demand conditions as another element in Porter's diamond model, we can see that in Germany there is intense competition in the German marketplace, and in addition to the intense competition, there is high expectations from the end consumer in terms of their expectations, and this in itself drives competitiveness, it drives innovation and creativity, and a want for the car manufacturers to exceed the expectations in terms of performance. If we look at the related and supported industries, well, if we think about Siemens and SAP, who are combined and they're the leading, worldwide IT specialists, well, they have now, combined and they're working with the car industries. So if you've got the best engineering manufacturing companies and then you've got the best IT and supported industries, well, that's a formidable kind of combination of two different market sectors actually combined and working together to enhance the performance of the automobile in Germany. If we take the strategy of of BMW, VW, and Mercedes, well, again, there's intense competition, and that intense competition leads these car manufacturers in terms of their overall strategy to be competitive, to be forward-thinking, to be innovative, and to be creative. Because if they don't, then they are going to fall behind, and they have a very tough market to actually satisfy. But by satisfying this market, then they become automatically more competitive in other markets if they were to export. And then the final element, the fifth element, is the government. And again, the government in Germany supports the car industry in many different ways in terms of infrastructure, where you've got the Autobahn, where there's no speed limit. So again, it drives performance and speed and efficiency, and the end consumer are looking for these. And you've got investment into the Autobahn, investment into the specialized education centers, which are supporting this whole industry. So when you take Porter's determinants individually and you combine them all and you see how they're all working together, you can see why the German car industry has a competitive advantage over other nations. When we look at some of the disadvantages of Porter's diamond model, the model really was developed using just 10 developed countries from research. So really, we can only really say that the model only really applies to developed countries and not to undeveloped countries. And there are other factors that may be in play as well. Much evidence is also shows that a country's competitive advantage is also influenced by factors outside of Porter's determinant of nations factors. And even if we look at some firms, not all firms who began in that country were successful, which again suggests that there may be other factors in play. As regards to the model, it's not quite clear how the model actually applies in today's service economy. Example, how would the model be used to analyze the success of McDonald's or Burger King in other countries? So if we look overall, we can see that Porter's diamond model is good. It gives an overview from developed countries, admittingly, and how competitive advantage can be gained, and what governments and nations can do to support their industries and to make it and give it a competitive advantage. So in summary, we've looked at Porter's diamond model and the different elements, 4 being seen, with the government making 5 and chance occurrence being 6. We've looked at the different elements and we've broken these down, and we've seen that we're not talking about the individual elements, but we're talking about all the elements working together to give a nation a competitive advantage. We've looked at the example from the German car industry. We've reviewed some of the disadvantages. It's always good to see the other side of the coin and always take it on face value that is the B's and E's. And finally, we've touched on ZapWorks as we do in all these videos, and we would like you to download the Zapper app from ZapWorks, and then with the barcodes, scan your phone with the barcode, and this would lead you to more information and homework. So thank you today from Mr. Tan.